Well, Stephen, I didn't quite catch the question here as there's a bit of noise behind me. But yes, it is come to an end. The evidence, that's just the evidence of the President Cyril Ramaphosa there, Stephen. But as you heard from the Deputy Chief Justice, while we all would have thought that this was the final hearing and that this would be the last time that they are hearing evidence, you heard there the Deputy Chief Justice intimating that there are other applications that he may have to consider. But I guess insofar as the President's testimony is concerned, Stephen, this is the end of his 2 days testimony for his second stint coming to the Commission, making it, Stephen, 4 days in total where he came and answered question before this Commission. And I'm sure many South Africans will ask themselves the question as to whether his answers or the responses that he gave were satisfactory. Well, I guess you'd never get that to that point where you have a uniform view on such matters. But I guess that for most South Africans, the justice out of the State Capture Commission will come in with the work that is done flowing from here, which is the finalization of that report by the Deputy Chief Justice and also the work that is done by law enforcement agencies. As you heard there, the Deputy Chief Justice referring to that big 50 billion rand amount, saying that from what we understand that is what state capture cost us. And then you heard the President in his closing address saying we will never know the true extent. So it may well be that the money that this country lost due to corruption was way more than that, Stephen. And I think for me the most interesting thing here is that the admission by the President that the ANC actually allowed President Zuma to do as he pleases, that he pretty much was in control of the party up to a point where he says that he took a decision not to do anything, not to resign, not to make any noise, but to fight from inside, and even saying that some people in the ANC kept quiet because perhaps they may have been strategic. And I think, Stephen, I would want us to listen to what the President had to say when he was asked that question about his resignation and why he did not leave or make the noises at the time, Stephen.
If you say, as you've just said, had I chosen another option, I would have been fired. There's only one person who would have fired you.
Indeed.
That's the former President.
Yes.
In your evidence thus far, Mr. President,
Let me just say, it's not so much that one was afraid of being fired. It was much more about seeking, as I said, to stay in, to bring about the change. It was not so much that one wanted to hold on to this position at all costs. No, I mean, even being in that position, a person like me was a great sacrifice because one's life would have been a lot easier and much more pleasant. But it was to stay in, to bring about the change that we are leading and proceeding forward with now.
And now, Stephen, obviously, we know that the President says that he is now willing to clean up. But the big question is, what then of the ANC, being the governing party, which is a party that allowed big men syndrome, for a lack of a better word, to take root within the party? What will the ANC do to remedy that going forward? Because it does not end with a Jacob Zuma. It does not end with a Cyril Ramaphosa or any other president, rather. But it's about what the party does to make sure that it is able to carry out what it promises, which is to hold its leadership accountable and to serve the people of South Africa, Stephen.
When that firm in the UK, I think it was called Pottinger, collapsed, we thought that we would go back to real political basics and shed ourselves of all those very wrong labels and go back to radical socio-economic transformation, which is what the African National Congress should be about. Yes, at our conference, the term radical economic transformation was used, but it has been bastardized and it has been reduced to just a slogan. And what it should really be about, it should be about, in a very practical way, advancing the interests of our people.
And of course, Stephen, we had the president there in his closing address making the point that, saying that the people of South Africa demand a clean government, which they are entitled to, Stephen. And one may well argue that in as much as they are entitled to a clean government, they are equally entitled to an accountable leadership that puts their interests first. Now, we do have our colleague, senior politics correspondent, Ziyanda Ngcobo, who is standing by on the other side of the commission, where the president, outside the chamber, where the president